Gentleman from Iowa.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Amendment number 6 is an amendment that addresses the transparency that we've heard much dialogue in the debate here on the floor, especially the members of the Financial Services Committee. And it's an amendment that requires that the records of the Federal Open Market Committee be recorded in the same fashion that our committee meetings here are recorded and made public. The FOMC sets a monetary policy for the U.S. economy, but there's no law that compels the Fed to release FOMC meeting transcripts to the public. The details of the meetings are crucial for an accurate understanding of how the Fed views the state of the economy and the reasoning behind Fed policy and actions. That's also been a significant part of our debate here with the underlying bill. And so my amendment directs them keep a transcript, keep a record, make that record public. It compels those transcripts to be made public, and so that those of us here in the United States Congress, but also people in households and businesses and across the country, can have a look into the decisions that are made and the rationale, especially behind those decisions, the full proceedings of the Federal Open Market Committee. Every congressional hearing makes these transcripts publicly available, and that's what my amendment does. It requires the FOMC to do the same, and I would urge its adoption, and I would reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman from Iowa is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I ask unanimous consent to modify my amendment with the form I have placed at the desk.
The clerk will report the modification.
Modification to King of Iowa Amendment number 6. Add at the end the following. Page 53, line 4, strike and. Page 53, line 11, strike the period and insert semicolon and. Page 53, after line 11, insert the following. F, consider the effects of the GDP output and employment targets of the dual mandate, both from the creation of the dual mandate in 1977 until the present time, and estimates of the future effect of the dual mandate on 1, United States economic activity, 2, Federal Reserve actions, and 3, federal debt. Page 53, line 18, add at the end the following. In making such report, the Commission shall specifically report on the considerations required under paragraph 1F.
Is there objection to the modification? Without objection, the amendment is modified. The gentleman from Iowa is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank you. I want to thank the ranking member also for cooperation and opportunity to have this debate. And I will just address it briefly, and that is that in 1977, Congress established what's known as the dual mandate. And the dual mandate set the goals of the Federal Reserve System and the Federal Open Market Committee include goals of maximum employment, and stable prices. There's been a lot of debate about whether the tension of those two issues has brought about decisions of the Fed that might have otherwise been different, and so this amendment requires a study to be done in order to take a look at the effects of the dual mandate. It's pretty simple that way, and I urge its support and adoption, and I'd circle back then to the transcripts, and in response to the gentlelady's comments, that I would just remind members of Congress that we do keep records in all of our proceedings. There's a transcript taking place right now of these proceedings of each of our committees and subcommittees. They're available to the public, and in fact, we're on C-SPAN with almost all of our subcommittees and committees today. We're open records, and where there's much sunlight on what we do, and yet many of the decisions that we make here have far less impact on the American citizen than the decisions made by the Fed. And so, again, I urge the adoption of this modified amendment, and I would reserve the balance of my time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did yield as much time as he may consume to the chairman from Texas.
The gentleman is recognized.
I thank the gentleman for yielding. I want to urge all members of the House to adopt his amendment. With respect to full transcripts of the FOMC meetings, all this is doing is simply codifying a current practice. It's simply to make sure that the transparency, at least this level of transparency, that the Fed doesn't backslide. With respect to the dual mandate, the truth is the Fed has many mandates, and they all ought to be examined. The Fed's been around for 100 years. It's time to poke under the hood. That's why we're having the Centennial Monetary Commission. And I think it is important that we take a good look to see if at times these are working at cross purposes. And so I thank the gentleman from Iowa for his leadership. I urge all members to adopt his amendment. Yield back.
The gentleman yields. The question is on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Iowa as modified. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chairs, the ayes have it. The amendment as modified is agreed to.